Thanks very much, Sarah, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Colin McNamee. I'm the COO of IMVO, and you've already met Sarah, and I'll be joining this webinar this afternoon by our CEO, Leonie Clark. So just to give you an idea of what we'll talk about today, I'm going to just give a rundown on what's going on with the Windsor Framework and its impact on uh, FMD in Ireland, a general update on FMD in Ireland in the round, and then I'll hand over to Leonie, who'll talk you through our new corporate strategy, some updates on what's going on across the wider European landscape, and then confirmation of our MAH fees for 2026. So the Windsor Framework. Just a little bit of history, I suppose. The FMD impact of Brexit. The UK left the EU on the 31st of January 2020, and EU law continued to apply in the UK during a transition period until the 31st of December 2020. FMD then, as we know it, was disconnected in England, Scotland and Wales, but remained mandatory in Northern Ireland. And that was up until the end of last year, so up until the 31st of December 2024, when the Windsor Framework was applied, and then FMD no longer applied in Northern Ireland since the 1st of January 2025. What did that mean? Packs placed in the UK market needed to be labelled UK only. Pack data from these UK packs would not be uploaded to the EMVS. And essentially what it means, and I'll double on this on the next slide as well, is that every UK single market pack with a 2D barcode that's scanned in Ireland will generate an exception or an alert once the 1st of January 2025 kicked in. So, as you're probably aware, UK single market packs are brought into the EEA markets, for example, under Article 5.1 or Article 126A of Directive 2001/83, are often sourced to address shortages and other local supply issues. What are the FMD issues where these UK packs carry 2D barcodes? First and foremost, the option of verifying or decommissioning these packs via IMTs, intermarket transactions, against the UK NMVS is gone, essentially because the UK NMVS is gone. And since the 1st of January 2025, every UK single market pack that bears a 2D barcode that's scanned in the EEA is generating some form of exception or alert. On this slide, I'll just give you an example of sort of typically what we're seeing. So if the product code or batch ID are known to the EMVS, so that means the pack data was actually uploaded to the EMVS before the 1st of January 2025, we're seeing a market not available exception. That's a new exception, which was new functionality brought into the EMVS in anticipation of additional exceptions or alerts when the Windsor Framework would kick in. In reality, we're beginning to see that the use of that slide down as those products which were fully uploaded to the EMVS prior to the 31st of December 2024 are moving through the supply chain, and ultimately we think the use of that functionality will time out over the course of the next probably 18 months or so. If the product code is known, but the batch ID is unknown, so that means the product was set up in the EMVS at one stage because it was a GB single market pack, but the batch data is not uploaded because there has been no further uploading of batches since the 1st of January, we get a batch not found A2 alert, and that's the one that's most significant at the moment. If the product isn't known at all to the MVS, so the product code has never been uploaded against any repository, including the GB repository, we get a product code unknown exception, which in I suppose EMVS speak is an A1 product code unknown exception. If the 2D barcode doesn't contain all 4 data elements, so we know some UK manufacturers were not encoding the serial number on the 2D barcode. That depends on whether or not that gets picked up at FMD software level, where it actually may get screened out and not sent up to the EMVS to check it all, or it will be identified within the NMVS to say that the incorrect data has been submitted. The other thing which is important to note is obviously that recalled, withdrawn, or expired UK packs no longer flag or may no longer flag as recalled, withdrawn, or expired if those packs are scanned in European markets. The advice that we provided to Irish end users was that with effect from the 1st of January 2025, the only way to avoid an alert or exception on a UK single market pack was not to scan it. The reality, as we know, as we have learned over the course of the last 10 or 11 months, is many pharmacies, it's just in their standard procedures when they're filling a script, when they're picking packs into a basket to complete a script, is that they scan everything. And the reality is, as we further learned, it's very difficult to confirm a message of scan this, don't scan that, when ultimately what we spent the last 6 years doing is promoting scanning for FMD purposes. The message, however, is that if they do inadvertently scan a UK pack, they will get an amber or red alert message on their FMD software. But notwithstanding this, they can supply the pack unless they've overriding concerns that a falsified medicine is involved, or believe the pack has been interfered with, or the pack has expired. And we did feel it was important to remind them that the FMD software may not now flag that that pack has expired. Obviously, they always need to check an anti-tamper device if indeed that there is one, and we see that in the main on UK packs. If you've also, if they've any reason to believe the pack has been interfered with, they liaise directly with our national competent authority, the HPRA. And furthermore, it's important to note that this advice has been agreed with the HPRA, the Department of Health in Ireland, and the PSI, the pharmacy regulator. So just a general update on FMD in Ireland. We've 2,105 end users connected to the IMVS, so just over 1,900 pharmacies, just 101 hospitals, 98 wholesalers, and 2 other dispensing outlets, which are clinics. And we have 374 MAHs registered with IMVO. Scanning activity are scanning, so actual transactions in the IMVS based on scanning of packs in Irish pharmacies, wholesalers, and community and hospitals is on an upward trend, and we would see on a standard week in Ireland now in excess of 2.1 or 2.2 million transactions per week. Our alert rate, as a result of the Windsor framework, has increased very significantly in 2025. So you can see there are alerts in the last 4 weeks. Our alert rate is averaging at about 0.3 when we look at just end user alert rates. That falls away completely to 0.02 approximately every week when we take out alerts on exempt medicinal products. And it's those UK single market packs in the market as exempt medicinal products that are being scanned that is causing the significant increase in the alert rate in Ireland. Overall alert rate across Europe, we're obviously higher than that, and you can see Austria at 0.05% is very, very low, and Malta, for similar reasons than ourselves, is also experiencing a high alert rate. There's just an analysis of our alerts to date. So you can see there our alert rate would have been quite stable at about 0.05% in the first 10 to 12 weeks of 2025. And essentially that was as those packs that had already been uploaded into the EMVS prior to the Windsor framework taking effect were moving through the market. So they were generating that Windsor framework exception rather than an A2 alert. And once we started to see a decrease in the number of those exceptions, we've started to see a very significant increase in the number of alerts. And that's where you will see over the course of the last 30 weeks since then, our alert rate has increased very significantly. To summarize our alerts, pretty much as I've said, the end user alert rate is now in the region of 0.3% due to the impact of the Windsor framework. It is 0.02% if we exclude spikes and EMPs. Issues which are driving the alert rate are scanning of UK single market packs, which are in Ireland as exempt medicinal products, and also alert spikes due usually to MAH procedural errors, but it can happen at end user level as well. But they would be the 2 key drivers of alerts in Ireland at the moment. We're taking all steps possible to investigate alerts. A key gap is the failure of some end users, mostly, and MAHs. And I have to say, we do get great assistance from the majority of our MAHs when it comes to alert investigation, to provide feedback on their investigations, as we can't definitively ascertain a root cause and close an alert without that. And we continue to work hard with our end users to increase that information flow so that much more of those alerts can be closed. NMVS Alerts, which is our alert management system, is what we have continued to use in our alert management procedures. Usage of NMVS alerts by MAHs and end users to give feedback on their alert investigation is increasing, and we have not yet connected to the EU alert management system, to the EU hub, but we are still considering connection to the European alert management system. The EMVS, including the IMVS, continues to perform very well. We've had no significant incidents or downtimes in recent months. A new release, release 17 of the IMVS, was deployed successfully just last week on the 2nd of November. And this release included multiple technical and IT security related updates. And that's me. I'll hand over now to Leonie, who will take you through our new IMVO corporate strategy. I can see one or two questions coming in already, and we'll handle all of them collectively towards the end of our webinar. Leonie.
Okay, so we just want to give you a quick overview of our new corporate strategy that was signed off by the board this year. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is our high-level purpose as set out in the current strategy. And in fact, this purpose slide and description was also contained in our previous corporate strategy. At the core of what we do is our overall purpose is protecting Ireland's patients from falsified medicines by operating the IMVS, or the Irish Medicines Verification System. So that's at the core of everything we do. And that, I suppose, incorporates operating, running the system, making sure all alerts are investigated, and then also, very importantly, working with IMVO and other national medicines organisations to ensure seamless operation of the entire EMVS, because we're just one component part of that entire ecosystem. We also then, the second layer of what we do is enabling and supporting our stakeholders using the IMVS. So that would include yourselves, it would include end users, so pharmacies, hospitals and wholesalers. And we provide you with the support and resources you need to use the system and to manage alerts seamlessly. And then finally, we seek to add value to our stakeholders by identifying ways in which IMVO as an organisation and the system itself can add value for IMVO members. So that's the 5 members that make up our board. We have IPHA, we have Medicines for Ireland, we have Affordable Medicines Ireland, parallel distributors. We have the Irish Pharmacy Union and the Parallel Distributor Federation representing Uniphar and United Drug, the 2 big mainline wholesalers. And then obviously we want to add value from the point of view of patients. Ultimately, patients are about everything we do. We run our system to ensure patient safety. And then finally, other stakeholders, who would include organisations like the Department of Health, the HPRA, the PSI, the pharmacy regulator, anyone else who's got an interest in what we do. Next slide. Okay, so we have a strategy on a page within our corporate strategy, and I've already mentioned the purpose. Within the strategy, we have defined a vision, a mission. We have 4 strategic pillars, and then we have also defined our values. So our vision is a secure and sustainable supply chain where medicines are confident about the authenticity of prescription medicines they receive in the Irish healthcare system. So the reference sustainable is new in this strategy. And then if we look into our mission, we sort of spell out further, this is what we do. We manage the IMVS to assure patients in Ireland about the authenticity of the prescription medicines. That's the core job of basically the FMD obligations that we have. But the second piece is new in this strategy. We harness IMVO's potential to enhance the security and sustainability of the medicine supply chain. So we want to think beyond FMD, how through the information we have, how through the organisation we have, how we work together, what we offer, how we can help to ensure the security and sustainability of the medicine supply chain. So in order to deliver on the mission and achieve our vision, we have set out a series of initiatives under 4 strategic pillars, and I'll just give a synopsis of that. Some interesting ones on the next slide. You can read the strategy yourself to see the full details. So they're under 4 headings: patient safety, partnership, leadership. So this is new in this strategy. We actually want to be a leader in many areas in the new corporate strategy, and then excellence. And excellence pillar builds on our previous corporate strategy, which was all about operational excellence. And we still believe that having an excellent organization and striving for excellence in everything we do is fundamental to deliver on our vision and our mission. The values then, so these are the values by which we operate both at board level, both within the IMVO team in relation to everything we do. Trust is really important. So the whole question that people trust in the system, they trust that we, for example, honour our legal obligations in relation to data ownership and access. The people have trust in us as an organisation in the broader stakeholder group we work with. Collaboration is very important, as we have always sought to be very active collaborators at national level. We seek to collaborate with people who use our system. We seek to collaborate with our stakeholders in Ireland, the Department of Health, HPRA, PSI, and so on. We also are very active on the European stage, and we, prioritise having members of the IMVO team involved in various working groups and task force at IMVO levels. We are contributing to the greater European effort to run this system. We are ambitious, we are agile, and this has been a feature of anyone working in an NMBO for the last number of years. I've been at this for 10 years. We've had to be constantly able to pivot and change and adapt. And that's something, when we hire people in IMVO, we look for people who are able to work in that type of environment where things are changing and moving. They have to be ready to roll with that. And then finally, innovation. We want to be able to think outside the box and be creative in finding solutions to problems. Next slide. So in terms of what's new in this strategy, we are focusing on leveraging our knowledge of the medicine supply chain. And I suppose if I point to that one particularly, we have a touch point with every single actor in the medicine supply chain in Ireland that handles prescription medicine. So we're the only organisation that has that. We have learned a lot about how the supply chain works in Ireland. We have learned a lot about how the supply chain works in Europe. And I suppose the key learning is it's a whole lot more complicated than simple supply chain that the Falsified Medicines Directive foresees. We have learned a lot then from our experience rolling out a major IT project here in Ireland and across Europe, and also working closely with counterparts across Europe to do this. Had we not collaborated and had we not worked really closely with various organisations, this thing would never have gone live on time. And I suppose to give you a solid example of our collaboration, we now have 14 other countries using the Solisoft national system with us. We have a very highly evolved collaboration within that group. We have a SharePoint where we have common documents. We have a customer group level quality management system. So quite a bit of our quality aspect relating to running the system is managed at customer group level. We have joint testing and validation of our Solisoft system, so we all commit to having the same version of the system. We hire 2 people to work collaboratively on behalf of all of us. So we have a shared QA resource and we have a shared change management resource person that we hired at the start of this year. So rather than us all doing the same thing in every country, we see the benefit in having it done once at customer group level and contributing our effort to making sure that works really well. So we see benefits to IMVS users. I think there are financial benefits to yourselves because we're not spending money all doing the same thing over and over again. From a member's point of view, we want to deliver more. And then obviously for patients, we want to make sure that this system is delivering positive benefits for them. Obviously, making sure they don't get fake medicines, but are there other benefits we can bring to patients? So the types of initiatives that we have planned under the strategy, and I've just picked out a few from under the various pillars. We want to explore how IMVO can contribute to addressing the problem of shortages, because that's impacting everyone in the supply chain. It's impacting patients, it's impacting pharmacies, wholesalers, and manufacturers. We want to share our expertise in change management and digital transformation projects to support the rollout of Digital Health Framework for Ireland and ICT initiatives in the healthcare system. And I would say our expertise is as much in what we've learned about what doesn't work as what does work. So I think it's important you don't repeat the mistakes of the past. We also want to establish a multi-stakeholder supply chain forum to identify and advocate for enhancements in supply chain security, efficiency and sustainability. We've already drafted up terms of reference for the supply chain forum, and we're exploring what might be the first theme we will bring to the supply chain forum. So that will bring together representatives from our member organisations, representatives from our broader stakeholder groups, really depending on what topic we'll be exploring. And then the last one is we want to work with policymakers, EMVS colleagues and other stakeholders to explore the use of barcodes for the benefit of supply chain partners and patients. So at the moment, the barcode is being used simply to do an FMD check. But what we have now is we have a barcode on every pack prescription medicine, and we also have a scanner in every location where those packs pass through in the supply chain. So we want to think about what else can we do with those barcodes that would add value for everyone. Next slide. So just a quick update on some European matters. So we just want to bring to your attention some action by MAHs regarding a PMD quality issue. So PMD is product master data uploaded to the European hub. So when you set up a new product in the European hub, you effectively set up the product master data for that product. So you put in the name, the form, the strength, all of the things that are set out in Article 33 of the delegated regulation. And then after the product master data is set up in the European hub, then it's possible to start uploading pack data for individual batches against that product master data. As time has gone on, we have noticed more and more that there are errors in this product master data. So for example, we've seen wrong product names, the wrong common name, the MAH name is incorrect. In some cases, it's minor errors. In some cases, it's really big errors. So for example, the common name substituted for the product name and vice versa, wrong forms and strengths. MAH names are frequently incorrect, so they don't match what's in the SPC, the summary of product characteristics. And the big problem with this is, first of all, it impacts how we as NMVOs identify which MAHs we need to contract with. But a bigger issue we've identified is that in pharmacy software systems, FMD software is generally programmed to take the information from this product master data and present this on the screen. And we frequently get calls from pharmacies saying, look, I'm looking at my screen and the name of the product that's on here, the form and the strength, don't match what's on the pack. And that's because the product master data is wrong in many cases. So we've identified we really need to get this product master data cleaned up, and MAHs has taken on this job. So they're now proactively screening the product master data. I think they're using some sort of AI tools to help with this. And what they're doing now is they're about to start notifying relevant OBPs. So OBPs are onboarding partners. So that's the parts of the pharma corporations that are responsible for uploading data to the European hub. The onboarding partners sign participation agreements with MAHs to permit them to be given access to the MVO European hub or the EU hub to upload data on behalf. The legal responsibility for uploading data sits with the marketing authorization holder. And in many cases, the MAH and the OBP are one and the same. And in other cases, the OBP is a different part of the company. So in that situation, as MAHs, you should have technical agreements with your OBPs because they're carrying out a function on your behalf. These product master data errors breach the requirement in the MVO OBP participation agreement to comply with FMD obligations, and in particular, as I've mentioned, the obligations imposed on MAHs relating to the upload of data under Article 33 of the delegated regulation. So if the data is not correct, that obligation has been breached. We also want to bring to your attention that MVO plans to notify the national competent authorities of the markets where the MAH is listed in the product master data of the affected products are located. So just to be aware that the HPRA will be notified where the MAH is located in Ireland. Now, the exact details of how this notification will be done and who will do it, and what's going to be the follow-up by the MAH, by the NCAs, the National Competent Authorities, remains to be worked out, but we just want to put you on notice that this is going to happen. And I suppose the key message is it's really important to make sure your product master data is right. And sometimes what we notice is it's because the people working in serialization teams are carrying out OBP functions may not be fully aware of the correct regulatory information for the product. So sometimes that's where we see some of the disconnect. So it's really looking internally at your quality procedures for making sure that the OBP is carrying out the data upload correctly on behalf of the MAH and that the data correctly reflects the regulatory information for that product, both the product details and the MAH name. Next slide. We also just want to give you a quick update on medicines verification in some other countries, and Greece and Italy, we know in particular, are of interest because they, along with Belgium, at the time FMD, the concept was developed, they already had serialization schemes. So the three of them were given a 6-year extension on the deadline for rolling out FMD until the 9th of February 25. Now, Belgium decided not to take advantage of that derogation. They decided to switch over to the EMVS model back in 2019. But Greece and Italy did decide to take advantage of the derogation. Now, Greece went live on time and implementation is going well. They still have a tolerance phase or sort of a stabilization phase. And we've given you there the link to the Greek NMVO website if you want to have a look at that. And Greece are now, they're using the SolidSoft system, so they have joined the SolidSoft customer group. Italy, it's taken a little bit longer. They have a system. They're going to use the Arvato national system. They are expected to connect to the European hub before the end of the year, and that's necessary to allow data upload to commence and the system to go live. They have planned a big pilot project with specific manufacturers and pharmacies for next year, and they have a 2-year stabilization period. And again, the Italian NMVO now has a website if you want to have a look at that. We thought you might also be interested to hear that Ukraine is progressing the rollout of a medicines verification system that follows the EU FMD model. They're doing this in anticipation of hopefully joining the EU, and I've read recently that could be as early as 2030, according to some reports. And they've established an NMVO just back in September. So we were pleased to be one of a number of NMVOs that participated in a workshop last year for the Ukrainian government and NCA to give them some feedback on how we rolled out the medicines verification systems in our countries. And again, we really emphasised to them the things we got wrong and the errors not to make. So it's very interesting to see that they're progressing with that. Next slide. I just want to give you a quick update on the revision of the EU pharma legislation and where this is relevant from an FMD perspective. So as you're aware, there are two key pieces of European legislation. There's a 2001 directive and a 2001 regulation, and they're both undergoing significant revision at the moment. The process began back in April 23, and we understand the Danish presidency of the EU is hoping to have it finished by the end of the year. Now, that may be a bit optimistic, but we'll know more in the next couple of weeks about whether that's going to happen. From an FMD perspective, the key proposals in the latest draft. So what we have at the moment is, and we've given you a link there to the latest draft. So these are subject to revision, but what we see at the moment is the purposes for which competent authorities may access data in the system. So currently competent authorities at national level can access data for the purpose of investigating suspected falsifications, reimbursement, pharmacovigilance, and pharmacoepidemiology. So obviously there's a lot of use of data for investigating suspected falsifications. Some countries are using it for reimbursement purposes. There has been relatively little usage of the data for pharmacovigilance, pharmacoepidemiology purposes, and that's something that has been likely to see more of over the coming years. The proposal is to extend this right of access of competent authorities to include the use of the data for monitoring any expected potential or actual shortage of a medicine, as well as to assess the general supply situation to avoid shortages. So we do think that if this is implemented as is here, and we expect that it will be, this will lead to significantly greater usage of data in the system by national competent authorities, because they're all struggling to deal with shortages every day and are looking to try and get as much data as they can to support the work they're trying to do to mitigate the impacts of shortages in their markets, and particularly to ensure supply to patients. Next slide. Electronic package leaflets. There is a proposal in the directive that companies must now provide leaflets in electronic form as well as paper. I know there's a strong push to make sure that paper leaflets will still be available for patients who can't access them electronically. There is a lot of interest in how the leaflet will be made electronically, and I suppose what's interesting is EMA issued a reflection paper on linking to electronic product information, so both the package leaflet and the SPC from EU medicines packages in March. And what was interesting was this outlined a proposal for accessing this information by using a smartphone to scan the 2D barcode. So I think it's becoming clear now that the barcode is being seen as a possible vehicle for making this information available. So from our perspective, I think that's a very positive development, because it makes the barcode scan more useful. From a sustainability point of view, it means we're leveraging the infrastructure that's been put in place. So I think we definitely are interested in it. We are mindful of the fact that the pharmacists in our midst would certainly say certain patients can't use won't be able to do this and will still need paper leaflets. So that's still a factor that is being discussed. There's another interesting new piece, development that had come into the latest draft of the legislation, where a new Article 207A was introduced at the behest, we understand, of the Dutch government, which would permit the redispensing of medicines returned by the public. Now, we see a lot of problems with that from an FMD perspective, and we would have made a submission to the Department of Health here, as have several other NVOs in their countries. And MVO has also made a submission to the European Commission. The implementation of the provision, if adopted, will be a matter for decision at member state level. And from what we understand, there will be no plans to permit that to be done here in Ireland. But it's just an interesting development, and I suppose it's linked with avoiding waste. But there are a lot of implications as we see it with it, and particularly FMD, we see lots of extra alerts. We see very tricky alerts to investigate. So we have flagged some of those issues nationally and in other countries. Okay, so just then to bring to your attention our fees for 2026. So I'm pleased to say the fee will not be increased in 26. It's going to be the same as 25. In fact, it's been the same for a number of years. We did do some discounts just to bring our reserves down about a couple of years ago, but our baseline fee level has been €6,000 for quite a long time. Rebates remain available for MAHs with a turnover of less than €100,000 per year, and this new application to be made, and those of you who've done this will know what the process is. Our plan is to issue invoices in January, due for payment by the 9th of February. And I think it's very important to flag, we'll be contacting you all shortly to check contact details and request PO numbers, because we find year on year we have a lot of changes in people who handle the invoicing in our MAH companies, and that can become a blocker just getting invoices out. And similarly, people not giving us PO numbers. So it's important you reply to this email if there's any new information. You need to provide us with PO numbers. Eventually, what we will do next year, we get to a certain point of people haven't told us about PO numbers, that we will send you an invoice without a PO number, but we prefer if you could do it up front. It just saves everyone a lot of time. And then just to remind, if you need to change your MAH details during the year, register a new MAH during the year, you contact the MAH at IMVO for guidance in the process. Sarah, that you met at the start of the meeting, is the person who looks after all of this, and she's very familiar with all the scenarios that arise when we guide you through what to do, and then also if there are any fees payable. So just very quickly, support available from IMVO. We have our service desk. So our service desk is actually open in quite extended hours. So it's 8 to 8, Monday to Friday, 9 to 6 on Saturday, and public holidays 11 to 6, and will be open, for example, over the Christmas period. But for example, we probably won't open it on Christmas Day, maybe New Year's Day. So we have phone number and email address. If you want to contact us about an alert, use NVS alerts or email alert.support@imvo.ie. And if you have any queries about your MAH account, just email mah@imvo.ie. Now, obviously, in terms of the out of hours service, we may be limited in how fast we can get back to you with information, because if we have to get information from other people, it may have to be the next business day. But as far as possible, we aim to deal with things as quickly as possible. So our website has a lot of information on it. There's an FAQ section where we really try and deal with everything, and we update this frequently as new queries come into our service desk and into the team directly. We have a number of guidance videos, and also if you need to check the live status of the IMVS, that's available at that email address, that web address. But actually, when you go into our website, it's on the homepage, a link, so you can see at any point in time where the Solid Soft system is at, including in Ireland. And then follow us on social media, LinkedIn, we post fairly frequently there. X or Twitter, not so much anymore, but we still have an account. HPRA, if you've got any queries, go to the compliance section, and then the Commission has a Q&A and safety features, which is available on the MVO website. And that's basically it. So I'm just looking at the